Got Your Ears On is brought to you by Tactical Legion 9. All
right, everybody, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Ears On. Guido here, along with Scoot.
Oh, yeah.
And Johnson.
Guido, sorry, I was laughing about Barry White. It was embarrassing. I can't think of another word. It was embarrassing. There are a few times, actually, I can't think off the top of my head of another time I sat and cringed. You know, like when you're watching something and you feel bad and embarrassed for the thing that you're watching. I can't off the top of my head think about another time that's happened to me as a Mountaineer fan. This Texas Tech game, it was embarrassing. I just felt awful. It was uncomfortable to watch, Guido.
Yep. WVU stinks, folks. Welcome aboard. Back to the podcast. WVU loses to Texas Tech 48-10. And who here follows a team and does a podcast about a team that gives up almost 600 yards per game? We do. Raise your hand. Yeah, boys, it's not pretty. It's on so many levels, it's bad right now. WVU has a hard time, gives up 594 yards. The offense did not click at all against Texas Tech on Saturday. It felt disjointed everywhere. And then on top, if you want to add a little bit of cream on top of your ice cream right there, Neil Brown comes out in his post-game press conference and really looks like, Johnson, to me, a head coach of a football team that knows he's going to be fired in the next handful of weeks.
Well, it felt like a defeated person speaking in the post game, didn't it? I mean, look, we've been critical for sure. I don't like it, when I hear people be totally just obnoxiously, mean about the coach or especially players. But in this instance, it's like, it feels like you don't want to kick a guy when he's down type of thing, because he just looked defeated. I mean, Guido, you noted it down. I think he said in the post game, it was the word. He said it was the most disappointed he's ever been as a football coach. And that, to me, to his credit, coached a lot of games, been around a lot of football. You could tell that's how he felt.
Scooty, here was my problem with it. And yes, I agree with you, Johnson. Like, he definitely was down. He was like Captain Depresso at the post-game press conference. But, like, here's the thing I had a problem with it. Again, goes back to everything he said in that post-game press conference was, we played bad offensively. We played bad defensively. We didn't play well at any position. He complained a little bit about the officials. He talked about how the coverage got their tails kicked off.
Well,
he never at any point said, Scooty, we didn't prepare them for this game. He didn't. It was never a coach's fault. He,
if he's learned anything in the last 4 years, he very rarely takes to the post-game press conference and lays the blame on the adults. It's often the officials. It's often the kids. We didn't do this or we didn't do that. But it's never like, well, we didn't have them ready, or it's my fault. I should have done this differently. Like, we're looking at 4 years in, and we're still knocking into some dumb penalties. We out of a timeout have a false start penalty, which you're wondering, like, what's going on. There were a couple times where it looked like we were going to get delay of game.
Well, and Scoot, that was out of a timeout, right?
Right.
You're talking about the one out of a stoppage of play. I mean, come
on. There have been times too, like, I think the referees were actually pretty lenient. There was a play there where I'm pretty sure the play clock was at 0 and we snapped the ball, and they were just like, they're getting killed, so let's just let them throw the ball or do whatever they're going to do. So, like, it just looks like they're unprepared. JT looked, I don't know if the pressure of having to carry the team is starting to weigh on him, but it felt like that.
Well, and I think he's just I'm starting to feel like he is starting to think, wow, I came here, I thought this was going to be good for me and good for my brand, and now all am is caught in the middle of like this craziness of terrible defensive and losing and Neil Brown getting fired and all that other stuff, Johnson.
Well, can we pick two things here really quick? I wanted to go over with you guys. One, and I don't know how to do this. I guess maybe we'll try to talk one and then move to the other. But one, can we talk about the offensive game plan and just perception from our perspective of the offense, for one? And then number two, who tweeted this? So Raymond, at Ray Del Mundo, which that's Scoot. That's a great Del Mundo.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's a great Twitter handle.
Always a good Del
Anyway,
Mundo.
this caught my attention because he tweeted this and I read it. This was maybe fourth quarter-ish. And I was like, oh, you know what? That actually hits it right on the head for me. He said, sometimes it's not overly complicated. It's just want to, in quotations. Haven't seen a lot of want to from WVU today. And Scoot, I was texting you, I think, during the third quarter. Maybe I was just in a mood in that third quarter, but I was texting you like, I kind of feel like, are we watching this team kind of quit in real time? I mean, they just didn't, they looked like, hey, look, let's wrap it up and get out of here.
It also looked as though, and I can't confirm this, but it looked as though Neil Brown had said to Graham Harrell, hey, listen, I know you've got things going in a good way, but let me show you some of the things that I like to do. And all of a sudden, we're throwing 5-yard slants and bubble screens. It was
What's it going to take to get you into this tunnel screen?
It was Screen City, starring Reese Smith.
Well, and so for that, my thing with that, it's often funny, Guido, how the game, you know how Scoot likes to say, like, I'm seeing this thing with my eyes, but then I'm being told something different. It's funny how when you're watching a game, how sometimes the game pace and action will veer in one direction, but you can tell the commentators have been given a script and they're still hanging on to a separate direction. So it's like second quarter, we have, I think, 49 total yards and maybe 3 first downs. And all the Fox Sports 1 guys can talk about ad nauseum is how Graham Harrell is out of the air raid tree of coaches. And we were texting each other like, what exactly are we raiding right now? It is not the air. Like, I don't know what we're raiding.
I've had pantry raids that have been a lot more successful than what I saw.
A friend of the show, Jake Lance, in his article after the game on Saturday for SmokingMusket.com, essentially said the same thing. Like, it felt like all of a sudden, after all this Graham Harrell air raid, hype, that it was nothing but like Neil Brown style dink and dunks, for most of the game. And like, why are you recruiting a 5-star quarterback to come in and play to play Jared Dagey's offense?
I agree. And Scoot, BFW and like Caden Prather, they had to be having like the shakes, right? Like did they suddenly
back to what the heck has happened?
like wait, I thought we had weaned ourselves off.
You recruited us to come back here for this. This is not what we signed up
screen
for.
After screen after screen.
So and listen, guys, we all saw the game. It does us no good to sit here and talk about the things that aren't going well. I mean, and here's the thing, I felt like from the beginning of Saturday, things weren't going to go well. Hours before the game ever started, I'm watching College Game Day. Pat McAfee, former WVU punter, phenomenal, spokesman for WVU, goes on College Game Day and says that WVU is the most disappointing team in college football. And then I just felt like that just set the tone for the whole day. And then we came out and we played the game we expected to see, right? And Scooty, there's been a lot of talk on Twitter with us about the narrative, right, Scooty?
Whatever fits your narrative. Well, let me tell you something. The narrative is we're not good. Neil Brown's not the coach for us. We deserve better. We expect better. Let me tell you, folks, there's no narrative. The only narrative that we have here on this show, or I have in my brain, is I see Neil Brown. He doesn't take responsibility. He's been smug toward the fans. I'm ready to move on. Let's find somebody that can coach this team to some wins.
Well, to wrap up what I started to ask, though, don't you think, and we'll move on from that, but don't you think, like, we can beat on the defense all day, but don't you think the offensive game plan helped in, like, negative fashion?
Negative,
right?
yeah.
I mean, come on.
Totally.
How did that help the defense at all?
It was like watching this team was like, well, we had said for weeks, well, at least the offense is fun to watch, right? At least.
Right.
And then now this week they're like, yeah, we're going to take that away from you too. Like,
Oh,
you don't
did
get
you
that
like
either.
that? Oh, we're going to yank that right out from under
The
you.
most interesting part of the game for me was at some point in the first half, Tony Mathis injured his, appeared to be elbow.
Yeah,
right?
I think it was a shoulder. Yeah.
And he then went into the tent.
Okay.
Is there a need to go in the tent?
Well, I mean, they're looking at his arm in the tent.
Is
I
it to
guess.
hide from the other team to see that he's injured? Do you have to be in a tent?
I mean, well, in some privacy. Maybe they got a Dolph jersey or something, Scoot. Give the guy a little bit of,
I mean,
privacy. I don't know.
I just felt like as long as he's keeping his pants on, he doesn't need to be in a tent.
Well, I mean, I guess, but
You think the tent's more for privacy than hiding from the other team, is what you're saying?
I think the tent is really more for hiding from the other team. But I was watching the game with a fan, and he believed that pants removal might be the reason for the tent, which he hurt his elbow. So why is he taking his pants off?
well, by the way, we lose Justin Johnson and Tony Mathis for what, the majority of that second half?
Justin Johnson, of course, came in somewhere around the third series, which
right.
is
As he
unusual,
tends to do.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
no.
Right. Didn't see
not at
that
all.
coming. Right.
The other thing that was interesting is Garrett Green did get to throw the ball
Yeah.
some.
Yes.
He was he not an Elite 11 quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
which is like the best.
How
high school
ironic,
quarterbacks.
though, or ironic's probably not the right word, Scoot, but how apropos he actually throws a terrific looking pass. He hits Caden Prather right in the hands. And just to sort of pour salt in this wound we had sat through to that at that point, Caden Prather unfortunately drops it. And I just thought Garrett Green's got to be standing there like, throw me a bone here.
And then
people.
Neil Brown scolded him as he came off the field and told him to hit him in the chest next time, not the hands. What's wrong with you? That was a bad read.
But that second thing I brought up, so from Mr. Ray Del Mundo, do you think, Guido, do you
Is it really
remember
Mr.
it
Ray
was,
Del Mundo? You gave
no,
him a Mr.?
I'm adding the
adding
Mr.
the Mr.
I
So
like
you
it so
are
much,
adding.
I'm adding the Mr.
Okay.
Yeah, just
I think you should go get that Twitter handle really quick. Mr. Ray Del Mundo needs to be your Twitter handle.
Well, do you think, Guido, do you remember, it's been a couple seasons ago, that Baylor game where everyone was like, that team quit. That team quit in the middle of the game. I thought, am I just barking up the wrong tree here? I thought in this game, I started to see a shade, and I'll tell you specifically where I saw it and where I think I read. It would be interesting if that's when this tweet came out. Maybe Mr. Del Mundo. What am I calling him? Mr. Del Mundo?
Mr. Ray Del Mundo.
Mr. Ray Del Mundo.
Maybe he can verify this, but it was Scoot. What's that running back? He's like Sir Lancelot or something. What's that running back they
Sir
have?
Roderick. Sir
Yeah,
Roderick.
Sir Roderick.
Yeah.
Sir Roderick
Sir
Thompson.
Roderick bounces it outside.
Lord Sir Roderick.
Lord Farquaad, Sir Roderick of Texas, of Jones AT&T Dominion or whatever. He bounces it outside. He stiff arms someone, made them look like a sixth grader. Then he had one more guy to beat and essentially did it again. Just put a hand
there was
out
three
and
stiff
shoved
arms in a row.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the worst. It just in that moment, I was like, this feels like the worst effort from
He
a defense
also
right now.
Leapt over roughly 15 would-be tacklers
Well,
throughout the game.
I think the other dude did that too, not Lord Farquaad, but there was another
Brooks?
Yeah,
Brooks,
he did that
that's
one
who
or
it
two
was. Brooks.
times. Yeah.
It was like I don't know, the steeplechase for that guy. Like that guy would we
Well, and
looked
he
so
wasn't a
dumb.
tall dude either.
No,
Scoot.
he just looked so
He was
dumb.
he was a little dude. He wasn't like some.
It's like,
long
okay, wait a
jumper.
minute, hang on. You slide first, then I'll jump over you. Like,
Well, but I guess, and then I'll shut up. But I thought, wow, we're watching this team quit a little bit. Like that put them up. I think.
I don't think it was a little bit. That's the problem, Johnson. I mean, this and here's the problem that I'm trying to reconcile in my head with this team, and I don't know if it's again who's to blame or why, but the whole team has quit now. Like, and maybe it happened during this game, maybe it happened before this game in practices, but the whole team's quit. Offensive, defensively. I mean,
watching JT Daniels' mannerisms on the sideline with 12 minutes to go when Garrett Green's in. Didn't it just feel terrible?
Who was it? Was it one of you guys that tweeted that Mathis and Johnson aren't coming back into the game because they entered the portal at the halftime? Like,
that was skewed.
I mean,
well,
like that is what I feel like. And here's the thing, like, and listen, WVU fans out there, I'm coming to you as a friend.
Tree of trust.
This is your friend Guido speaking here. Listen, it's going to be a rough couple of months. Like, just buckle up. We're all here for you. We'll be friends, but it's going to be coaches changing, people leaving, transfer portal getting filled with WVU guys, because we're going into.
Well,
I mean, I would, and like Scooty's gonna hate that. Scooty's gonna hate that I say the word rebuild because we haven't built anything yet. But we're gonna go into this massive teardown and rebuild.
I think you got to believe that maybe 3 of the 4 quarterbacks could be gone.
I think so. You
might see all 4.
To be honest with you, you want to know my guess for starter next year? Goose. Goose is the one who's going to stay and be the starter next year.
You think out of all of this, Goose comes out?
I think Goose is the one who comes out of all of this.
I think they have Goose
he's the one, right? He's the one that
coverage.
He doesn't. You don't. I mean,
coverage or something.
I don't even know. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing, guys. Is there? Let me ask one question to both of you guys, though. At this point, is there any ounce of either of you that believes that Neil Brown will be back next year? Is there? And do you have any, like, after the Texas Tech game, and looking at the last 5 games of the season, and the chances that maybe we win one, maybe. I mean, it would be on brand for us to win one more. But, like, do either of you now, after that game on Saturday, have an inkling that Neil Brown comes back next year?
Well, I'll tell you this.
Yeah, I do.
I've got a degree from WVU. If he's back, I'm going to have to, like, put my fandom on a moratorium of WVU. We're going to have to put it on hold.
But take all the emotion out of this, Scoot.
This might
don't think he'll be back.
Got Your Ears On, and we talk about some other school, which would make really no sense whatsoever.
Well, but I think he will be back, Guido. To answer your question,
I don't.
I think he'll be, and here's why. Because I think you're right. It is on brand. We'll win another. I think we'll win maybe 2 more. I do, because there's a team called Iowa State that has completely forgotten how to, I don't know why, but they've completely forgotten how to football. And then we will do what you just said and win some weird game that we're not supposed to win and get to 5. And I think that's enough given all the contract stuff and our history of not moving off of people. And if I'm being honest, that's why I feel so gloomy right now, because it feels like, we're destined to see another season of this, as bad as it feels.
I don't think he's back next year. I don't.
You don't?
I think it's done. No, I think it's done. I think
you think the season plays out though?
Yes. I think he gets fired. Whatever. What's the last game? November 20 something. I think he gets the 27th. I think he gets fired after that game.
You think
the Monday
they
after
wrap
that
up
game.
turkey dinner?
I think.
Yep.
It's possible, not probable, possible, that once we get mathematically eliminated from a bowl game, that maybe they say, okay, listen, you're not going to a bowl game. Graham Harrell finish out the season as the interim. Let's just see it for a game or 2.
No, because here's why I think I hear what you're saying, Scoop, but here's what I think is going to happen. Like, it's going to be a complete teardown, right? Like, all those assistants, they have 1-year contracts. They'll all be gone, or at least for the most part. I think that they'll play out the year. The buyouts, Johnson, and like Jake said it when he was on the show, like, you don't get into a buyout like that unless you know you can front the money.
Yeah,
for
I
it,
get,
right?
And it's not even a buyout, right? It's just finish out his contract.
Yeah,
and they probably
and they'll
settle,
negotiate it.
Right. So what would be 16 could end up being like 10.
And Scooty and I, before we got on, Scooty and I were having a brief conversation about people we'd like to see take the position. And one of them, the names that keeps popping up that, granted, I don't think will happen, but Jimbo Fisher would be fun. But do you know what Jimbo Fisher's buyout is right now for Texas A&M? He's only won 8 of his first, 19 games while he's there, which is not going over well with the Aggie fans.
Right.
His buyout currently is $90 million.
What?
Yeah. So, we've got nothing to squawk about with our 15, 16 million. That's probably going to get pared down to 10 or 13. That's fine. Whatever. I just don't, I think a couple of things. I think one, if Shane Lyons wants to keep the job, he's going to have to do something about this. Because this now, we've gone past this being a Neil Brown problem. We know as fans, Scoot, you said it, Neil Brown ain't changing, right? Mm-hmm. This has been the same for the past 3 years.
Yep.
And
by
so
this point, we would have seen something.
It's on Shane Lyons' shoulders now, right? It's not like Neil Brown has, the Bob Huggins clout that can carry him through a couple of bad seasons. Neil Brown doesn't have that. Shane Lyons has to make a change. I don't see how Shane Lyons does this without somebody starting to go, well, what are you doing, Shane Lyons?
Well, and what about Jake had there's something else I want to bring up too, but before that, Jake had an interesting tweet here earlier today where he said, because I think, Scoot, don't you think this plays a major part too? So WVU had, Jake's tweet is, WVU had 3 home games left. They have 3 home games left, if I could talk. Their first 3 home games have had 52, 50, and 45,000 fans in attendance, respectively. And Guido always reminds me that's actually not butts in seats, but
Paid,
sold tickets.
Sold, yeah.
How many will show Saturday? With obviously Jake's leading the witness here. Do we go even lower than 45? Scoot, we've said that all along. Isn't that where Lyons sort of is forced to be like, okay,
once the finances start to change, then he has to, right?
Yeah, right.
It's one thing to have people just upset. It's another thing to have people upset. Now they're not spending their money.
Yeah, I mean it's bad, and I think that you're starting to see it from a media side too. Less people are coming to the rescue of Neil Brown. I mean, I know there's always going to be some people that are paid by the college that will say, oh, you got to give the guy a chance. But I think you're starting to see more and more of the pressure Johnson mount up on him as we kind of go along.
Yeah. And it's funny though. I still continue, Scoot, to see tweets that are somewhere along the line of you can't do that being change the coach, because you're going to get back to this situation where we talk about the cupboard was bare when Dana left, which, quick aside, Scoot, do you ever use the word cupboard when speaking? I feel like I only use that word when I'm speaking of Dana Holgerson.
Scoot's always like, hey, Miss Scoot, can you please get the Cheez-Its out of the cupboard?
Right.
Do you ever say cupboard other than talking about when Dana Holgerson left the Mountaineers?
Nobody ever says a full cupboard. It's always bare when they're talking about the cupboard.
It's always a bare cupboard. Right.
Anyway, and maybe I'm just still mad, but don't you think you could make the argument, if you're saying the cupboard was bare when Hogs left, is the cupboard full right now? What? What are we?
No.
When I read those tweets,
what are we losing?
Right. Well, and aren't you going to watch, to Guido's point, you've already watched this exodus and then we've patched things up a bit this season. Aren't you, if this plays out and we don't win anymore or only win 4 or something, don't you see more players just exit anyway? The cupboard is bare already. What are you risking?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of people leave regardless because they've got to feel it's uncertain at the top, right? Players know, hey, man, this guy that's playing me right now may not have a job.
It starts to cast a shadow.
Yeah, so they got to start finding, hey, I got to do what's best for me. I got to start looking for some other situation.
Yeah.
Hey, I remember this guy kind of recruited me. I wonder if he's still interested. That kind of stuff is going to start happening.
Right.
I look at, I'm not worried about losing recruits. I'm not worried about losing current players because the climate nowadays is pretty quick turnaround. And we're seeing that with some of these other schools, which is why it's frustrating now. You see Kansas State, TCU, some of these schools that got coaches right around the same time we did, and they've already turned the corner. Baylor, we haven't. So that's what I'm not worried about that. We can rebuild, we can restock the shelves, whatever cliche you want to use, pretty quickly.
Guido, Skylar Callahan also had a tweet I thought was classic. Updated numbers for Neil Brown: 0-4 versus Texas Tech. 6-14 in road games. Woof. 5-11 in Big 12 road games. Like, that's a murderer's row of just bad.
Here's the other thing.
Bad.
I believe that his record against winning programs is not going to change. Right? So I think,
agree.
what did we say? He has 4 wins against Power 5.
I think we found 4 total. Yeah.
Power 5 teams
that finished above 500.
Finished above 500.
Right.
Virginia Tech. Are they going to finish above 500?
Oh, no. Definitely not. No.
Baylor is on the fence right now.
On the fence, yeah.
And that's it.
Well, so there's your one potential, because I think Baylor should have beat us. Like, let's face it. I mean, that was a weird game. And has the potential to go ahead and win. So maybe there's one more, but still 5. Like, what are you doing, waving the banner for 5? If that's what it is.
You're averaging slightly more than 1 win a season against teams with winning records.
Well, and you know what's even tough is, like, we all said after the Pitt game, well, Pitt was a good team. That was a good loss. Like, we were in that game, 38-31. It looked like a good game. And then Pitt has just stunk this year. Like, we don't even have I don't even know how to, like, we don't even have games where I'm like, oh, well, at least we looked good. I mean, like, even the Baylor win, like, it
felt hollow.
It felt, right. Exactly. I mean, you take Towson out of there. We killed Towson, guys. Like, it was awesome. But, like, other than that, I don't know, man. Like, and I don't know how people are still out there talking about, I get it. He's a good guy. I'm sure he's a really nice person,
awesome.
Scooty. He does, yes.
Hillbilly golf.
I'm sure.
I bet the stakes are on point.
Yes, right? We need better. We need better. And it's just so disappointing. And it's not going to get better. I mean, yes, Johnson, you're not wrong. Like, Iowa State has forgotten how to play football. They're 0-4 right now in the Big 12.
Well, and here's the thing, too. You look at Texas Tech, and I know a lot of people made a big deal of this. Joey McGuire was a former high school football coach and was very successful at the high school level.
And I think they showed that he has a staff of former Texas high school coaches, right?
The reason why, so that's important, but the reason why he's doing so well is because of that recruiting knowledge that he had. Like, when you've coached in Texas high school, coaches, players, and you're recruiting to a place in Texas, it's going to help you. So,
well, I don't disagree with you, but I think in his case, I would also argue that he's not even yet playing with his players.
True.
And he's got them motivated and they're doing well. I mean, so this whole narrative is stuck in my head, Scoop. But this whole theme of, like, a guy can't come in and have a big effect and get things on the right track. Guido, you're a North Central, and Scoot drives all over God's Green Acre in West Virginia and back too. And I'm an Eastern Panhandle. I'm an Eastern Panhandle guy. But on I-68 where it says Noah's Ark being rebuilt here. So Jake had a tweet yesterday that cracked me up. It's a picture of that Noah's Ark being rebuilt here. The steel studs of the Ark that have been there for 30 years now or something. And it says The Climb. Like, this is what people want to do. They just want to wait. Like, it's coming. The climb's coming. Here's the climb. It's coming. That cracked me up because, Scoot, I think that's what this is to me where it now gets ugly. Like, look, coaching hires like this happen all the time throughout college football where you grabbed a guy, you felt great about him at the time, you put him in a spot.
Didn't work out.
And it didn't work out. Okay, there's no shame. If you're Shane Lyons, there's no shame in that, right? I mean, at the time,
Scott Frost was a slam dunk.
And everyone thought that was a slam dunk.
He's going back home.
I think a lot of us thought Neil Brown could be a slam dunk, and we were excited about it. I think the ugly part now that's hard to forgive is if you just let this fester and become a terrible, like, it's already getting ugly. I think Guido, to your point, I guess I'm being pessimistic. Scoot always says I'm the optimistic pessimist, but I'm being pessimistic that I think he will be back next year if he gets another win, or especially two. I think I'd rather see your description happen, because I think then it does become the fault and ugly situation on the AD's shoulders if you just let it fester and it gets worse and it damages the program further and people bolt and, fans stop showing up. Like, now that, to me, that is where, like, you can't let that happen.
I'm at a point now. I mean, it would take a lot, I think, for Neil Brown to save his job at this point. I mean, I hope that, because, like, even if you count Baylor as a win, you're still giving up 600 yards in that game, right? Like, you're not bettering the team. You're out shooting the team. I'll give you that, but you're not progressing.
Well, and now we can't even do that.
I mean, so yeah, right.
It's okay though, Scoot. Remember, didn't Jordan Leslie say yards surrendered and points don't bother him?
Right, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You don't see something else that you don't see here lately is his wife on the Twitter, where she was on the Twitter hot and heavy there.
Yeah,
after
I
a
remember
win.
that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Right. I think that was after Virginia Tech, maybe.
Yeah,
she's
been pretty quiet.
So WVU now hosts TCU on Saturday. That's a noon kickoff on ESPN. Right now, guys, TCU in most places is favored by 7.5, 8 points in a couple other places. The over-under set at 70 for the game.
Wow.
I feel like every week WVU's over-under number just goes up and up and up.
But Scoot, we were talking about that. I'm glad Guido framed it that way, because can't we agree that, I mean, we talked about it a little bit with the air raid stuff, but this offense doesn't do what we expected this offense to do. And those over under, like, so when I see an over under of 70, I get this sinking feeling, because TCU becomes like almost 50 of that, right? Like,
well, that's what, you say 70, I'm thinking they're going to score 60 what points.
Right. That's the bad feeling you get, because we're not seeing the production out of this offense like we thought. I mean, even Baylor, we got a lot of non-offensive scores. We talk about Virginia Tech. We put 33 up, Jacoby Spells had a pick 6. I mean, I think if you went back and dissected some of these games, we're not seeing that offensive output. And TCU, Guido, right now is this buzzsaw. So the funny thing preseason, if you go back and look at our preseason picks, all three of us, do you guys remember this? All three of us picked this as a win. because at the time, in fairness to August us for a second, look, they're turning over a 22 season coach. They were gonna start. So the remind me, Scoot, is it Duggan, the quarterback that's in right now
Max
for TCU?
Duggan.
He did not come out. I don't think he came out of the spring as the starter. They were going to start a new quarterback. We had a lot of reason to think like there's enough weirdness here and change that we all three picked this as a win. TCU is rolling in at 6-0 right now. I mean, they can do no wrong. This latest win they had over Oklahoma State, I think, is their most impressive yet.
I gotta be honest with you guys. August me was really drunk. Don't like him right now. Not a friend of mine. Even last week me was not doing so great either. TCU right now comes into this game tied for first in the Big 12 with average points per game at 44.5 or 44.7 points per game.
Wow.
And it's just they're averaging. They're leading. This is where it's going to get scary, boys. They are leading the Big 12 in yards per game, average yards per game at 522 yards per game.
Oh my gosh. Well, and how bad of timing, Guido, is that? So if you're Neil Brown, in Neil Brown's defense, this is like the last thing you need right now, isn't it?
There's no Towson's coming up.
Right. I mean, Iowa State,
TCU could house you with another 600 yard some odd, 50 point game or something. This is like the worst timing right now.
It really is. Brown. I mean, and you then turn around and face an Oklahoma team, which granted has its problems right now, but they're averaging 500 yards a game right now. And they got their quarterback back. They beat Kansas.
Yeah, they're still Oklahoma.
Yeah,
you know,
so
they're
it's
not,
just
come on.
listen, guys. The forecast is not great for these last 5 games. I mean, and like you're right, Iowa State's rough right now. Iowa State, they're only averaging like 370 yards a game. They're not looking great, but everybody else is, and it's going to be a rough go at it.
Yeah, I mean, to your point there, Guido. Before we leave that, I mean, so the remaining games: TCU, Iowa State, Oklahoma, Kansas State, Oklahoma State. TCU, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State playing very good football right now. Oklahoma is still Oklahoma. I know they're not your granddad's Oklahoma. I mean, Guido, you and Scoot each picked a 4-game losing streak to end the season. I think that's a very real possibility. So, Scoot, you went 4-8 for the season. Do you think that additional win is coming in here somewhere before we finish things out?
No. If we win, I guess if we win, maybe Iowa State. Now
Right. I'm holding out hope.
But
Right.
that would be the 4th win and the only other win.
And look, that's an away game, Guido. We have this.
That's true.
We have
Iowa
this.
State,
bad news.
because you know it's going to be like negative 30 degrees, and the wind's going to be blowing at like 700 miles an hour.
Right.
It's going to be ridiculous.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
These away trips are terrible.
You know, those rivalry
right.
games.
Those
Yeah, right.
Geographic
It is a
rivalry game
game.
against Iowa State. So listen, boys, TCU coming up this Saturday noon on ESPN. Let's pick it. I know we all picked it as wins. I know we're all going to pick it as a loss right now. I mean, I'll be surprised if anybody doesn't. WVU, I'll go first. WVU continues to struggle. I think, and I hate to say this, and I hope it's not true, I don't think that the coaching staff, Neil Brown, Shane Lyons, I mean, I don't even think Gordon Gee could put pads on and get this team pumped up for this game on Saturday. WVU is going to give up another nearly 600 yards. They're going to lose again. It's going to be another, I'm going to say 48-24 loss to TCU. And it's not going to be fun, folks. And there's going to be, I will say this. I'm going to go, one thing I'm going to say. I think that attendance number may tick up a little bit this week. I'm going to say it's going to be like 48,000 people. It's Saturday. There's not a lot to do in West Virginia on a Saturday unless you're going to go watch a WVU game in Morgantown. So maybe people show up, have a party, maybe walk in and watch the first quarter and then leave. Johnson, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this over-under seems scary for this game. I think you're right. I think we're going to see 600 yards on this defense. I can easily see TCU's quarterback just going off in this game. I'm going to say, I'm going to match your 48. I'm going to say TCU 48, WVU 27.
Wow. All right, John. All right, Scooty. So you get to go last. Nobody's picked it. Listen, this season so far, nobody of the three of us, and then Jake, our friend Jake, who joins the show, nobody has picked somebody to score more than 50 points on us yet. You gonna pick something in the 50s, Scooty?
I am. Let me be the first. This game is going to be a real trip to the woodshed for WVU.
Where is the woodshed, by the way?
Where is the woodshed?
It's out back.
It's out back.
It's out back. Okay.
You're looking at a 55-13
Woof.
loss.
Woof.
So that's the type of score. So now wait a second, because when you go that magnitude, Scoot, is like, to me, you might get tarmacked after a score like
Well,
that.
it's not going to be good.
You're
It's
at
not-
home and you get embarrassed.
You might get hermed.
You might get hermed
Where
right there.
where they meet you at the entry to the weight room.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I think WVU, I think the institution will hold on to him till the end of the season.
55-13.
We'll see what happens. That's rough.
Especially if we do this Neil Brown game plan.
Which is what I think you're going to see. That's the problem. We already know the defense stinks, right? And TCU gets a lot of yards. We know these things. These are facts. Now, if the same offense that showed up on Saturday against Texas Tech shows up against TCU this coming Saturday, it's bad news bears, boys.
Listen, fellas, you've heard of Window World?
Yes.
Have you ever been to Screen City? Because you're about to go there. We're about to go to Screen City.
Hashtag Screen City. Oh man, I feel like it'll be the week. That'll be on our Twitter all week. Hashtag Screen City.
Well, Scoot, it did feel bad though to watch all the footage of Graham Harrell backslapping with all of his old buddies at Texas Tech,
There's a
and
lot
then
of
come
glad-
out and proceed to throw
Well,
52
how about the
screen
funny
passes.
thing in Twitter was people acting like Graham Harrell had gift wrapped a win for his old alma mater, and he
Conspiracies.
as if he was like trying to like give them inside secrets as to what we do. It was almost like complete opposite. Like, listen, this is what we like to do. I'm going to let the head coach actually call the plays for this game, and then you'll see what happens. And that's what happened.
Well, defensively, Guido, they finished 6 of 7 on fourth downs. That was the most.
They had 6 in the
demeaning
first
thing.
half.
Yeah, that was the most demeaning thing we've watched in a long
It's
time.
bad.
Just fourth down, who cares?
it's
Go
bad.
for it. It was, the whole thing just felt terrible.
So guys, and you know what's bad of all of that? Earlier in the week, a tweet came out that finalized the WVU Alabama series that's coming up, right? So WVU and Alabama are going to play each other. The first one will be in Morgantown, September 5th, 2026. And then the next year, WVU will travel and play at Alabama on like September 4th.
Listen, if things keep going the
I
way
have
they
to
go,
tell you,
we
it
may
is
have to play
hard-
that at Pony Lewis
yes,
Field.
it will be.
We're going to have to go to Pony Lewis and play it where Morgantown High is to make it look like it's full.
It is very hard. Like, this is a game we should all be very excited for. We're going to play it.
And any other time you would,
And now,
right, Guido? Any other
after
time.
this, how can you be excited for that? It would, like, can you imagine if we played Alabama right now? And Alabama's probably not even the best team in the country right now. If we played Alabama right now, what it would look like? Like, that might be the first time there's ever, like, the over-under would be 125. Like, it really would be. I don't know, guys.
Also, if things go the way they continue going, I would like for the away game when we're at Alabama to be in a non-disclosed location where no cameras
Yes.
or media is allowed to see, or spectators for that matter.
like one of these
Super secret scrimmage type
like
things.
basketball scrimmages that we were reading about. Yeah.
Rough go at it, guys. Speaking of basketball, a couple things people should know. One, WVU plays this week on TV. WVU plays Friday night against Bowling Green. That game is an exhibition game. Doesn't mean anything. It's a fundraiser game for the Norma May Huggins Cancer Research Foundation. But it's on ESPN. You can watch it on ESPN Plus. It is at the Coliseum. Tickets still available. 7:00 Friday, and but we can watch it on the Plus. You got to pay your nickels, but you can actually watch this team
Right.
play. And I mean, I'm anxious. I'm very excited to watch this team play. It sounds like some of the people who were not in the team scrimmage game are going to be back on the court. We're going to be able to see some action. Might not be full, but see something, guys.
Bowling Green's mascot is
Isn't it a falcon? Aren't they the Falcons?
It's like a falcon. Yeah.
it a falcon or is it a brown hawk?
A hawk. It's like a falcony hawk.
I'm pretty sure it's the Falcons.
It's orange and brown.
Yes, it's they're
What
the
do you
brown.
want from me, Scoot? I'm exhausting all of my Bowling
What
Green
do
the
State
brown-
University knowledge
It's
right
the
now. I don't know.
Falcons.
That's
It's
all
the
I got.
Bowling Green Falcons.
Of Ohio or Kentucky?
Oh my gosh!
Of
It's
Ohio, I
It's
think,
Bowling
right?
Green, Ohio.
Yes, it's Ohio.
Yes, they are a Division I school. Like, come on, Scoot.
I get it, but I'm not sure that there's two Bowling Greens.
Yeah, I mean, I believe you. I truly do.
There's
I truly believe you.
Thank God it's not an away game.
You hammer this home every time we talk about Bowling Green.
There is Bowling Green, Kentucky. I mean,
I know
Yes,
I know my geography. I'm just glad it's not an away game because a lot of folk would be going to the wrong state.
Here's the funny part, Scoot.
Yes.
You know so much about Bowling Green, Kentucky. What college, what university is in Bowling Green, Kentucky?
I'm gonna guess Bowling Green.
No, probably one of the most famous universities ever from College Game Day, ESPN College Game Day. Western Kentucky is in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Well, that's very confusing.
Now, right? Isn't it? But
That is
Bowling
very
Green
confusing.
is in Bowling Green, Ohio.
That's
No,
like
that's great. Thank you, Guido. Scoot, I feel like you just completed your Bowling Green Rubik's Cube with all that knowledge that you just got right there. That's what you needed.
it feels like jumbo shrimp.
Because,
Like an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Yes.
let me ask you this, Scooty, since you know so much. What is Western Kentucky's?
Oh, they're the Hilltoppers.
Okay, you good. You got that one. All right.
Yeah, but it's that
It's
weird
it's
red
like a
guy,
big,
though,
it's a big
right?
looking Grimace
he's like,
thing.
he's like
Looks
if
like
Grimace
with
had a brother,
and a towel.
if Grimace's brother was
brother had
red and had a towel,
It
it
was
would be
swinging a
that guy.
towel around. He
Right.
kind of looked like those two Muppets from Sesame Street. That nope.
Right? Yes.
Those guys.
Yeah, that's right.
So we went from WVU playing Friday against Bowling Green University in the Coliseum on ESPN Plus at 7 p.m. on Friday to Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is the home of Western Kentucky University, home of the Hilltoppers with their Muppet-looking mascot.
And well, how about this? Let's put this in perspective. Jarrett Dagey came to us from where?
Troy.
No, came to us from where?
Bowling Green.
Oh yes, sorry.
And then he
went
transferred to
Troy.
where?
Sorry,
Western
I'm back-
Kentucky University.
Yes. Yeah, see, I can tie it all together.
Sorry, I
You
went
got
back
it
to
all.
the future
Just
there.
Pretty it up, put it in a nice little
Yeah,
basket.
look, it's like
Here's a little
it's
present
like
for
the
everybody.
Kevin Bacon game.
It's
Scoot.
like a boomerang. We treated that cat like a boomerang.
You left one Bowling Green to go back to another.
That's going to be very confusing
boys.
for him and his family.
Also, by the way, speaking of basketball, a little bit, one congratulations goes out, former WVU standout, head coach at Fairmont State University in the Mountain East, and now head coach of the Boston Celtics, Joe Mazzulla, 3-0 in the NBA, boys.
Yeah, pretty awesome. It was noted that he's the first WVU alum to win an NBA game as coach since Rod Thorne in 1982. It's pretty awesome. He got a Celtics over the Sixers win on opening night, and he hasn't looked back.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. So if you get a chance, check out the Celtics, check out Joe Mazzulla, winning some games up there in Boston. Well, boys, we should probably wrap it up for the week. WVU continues to be WVU. They play TCU on Saturday. That game is on ESPN. It's a noon kickoff at Milan Puskar Stadium, and we're not feeling great about it. It's tough to be where we're at, friends. Like, we're here for you. Scooty's gonna keep telling you he told you so. Johnson and I will try to make you feel like there is light at the end of the tunnel somewhere.
We're hoping for the best, Guido, but expecting not the best. That's
Yeah.
what we're saying.
Absolutely. But listen, don't forget, check us out online. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Ears. You can also find us online on our website, gotyourearson.com. Johnson, everything you need to know about us is there.
Yeah, everything you need to know is there. We'll post the show notes for this show as soon as it's up. We'll also have the tune in link right on the site, so you can click that link and listen right on the site. You can also click through to the merch store if you want to buy some GYU merch. So it's all right there. Check it all out.
Yeah, check it out, gotyourearson.com. And don't forget, tell your friends to listen, like, and subscribe. I mean, especially if they want to hear us complain about head coaches. Maybe next week we'll talk about who we think we might hire. Who knows? All right, guys, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with another show. You've been listening to Got Your Ears On.